I'm very pleased to have David Gargaro here. He's a consulting editor and with more than 20 years of experience providing writing and editing services and solutions and support. He's worked with clients on projects in a wide range of industries, and he's learned to write and edit for different markets and audiences. He's also an instructor with Sola Rosa Tech, by the way, which is the publisher of effective emails and terrific technical memos. Some of his accomplishments include forging a long career in mathematical editing, building a publishing department from scratch, and helping a trade magazine become the most widely read in its industry. And tonight he's going to be speaking to us about communicating with emails better. So come on up, David. Welcome.
Just give me a minute to set up here. For those of you who are interested later, this is the book that I teach at seminars. You can purchase it through the website, through Amazon, or
Hold it steady,
Oh,
so you
sorry.
can actually read it. Thanks. You're moving your action.
Sorry.
Thanks.
or you can purchase it from me. I think on Amazon it's going for sale for $14 and change. I have it for sale today for $10 for anybody who wants to leaf through it and possibly purchase it. It's up to you. Now, we're going to be talking tonight about better communication by email. Most of the information is applicable to everybody who uses email for their work. Some of it will be more applicable to people who work in a corporate environment or deal with or work in-house. And some of it will apply to people, freelancers who work with authors. But most of it you can apply in your everyday email communications. Thanks to for inviting me out today as well. It's been a long time. I actually used to be, just a little quick aside, back in the day when we were at the Women's Art Association, I ran the book table for a couple of years when we still had a book table. So the goal of today's talk is to help you improve your email communications and help to develop positive relationships with the people who read your emails. Most of my client communications occur through email. In fact, I have some clients I've never talked to them on the phone, I've never seen them in person. It's all email communication. So one of the key problems with using email improperly is that we end up creating negative relationships based on accidents or mistakes that we make in our email communications. For example, you might send what you consider a cheerful email to someone or a neutral email, and they may perceive it as sarcastic or mean, even though that was not your intention. You might say something in an email that you probably shouldn't have. This is more of a corporate or in-house thing where you make promises that you shouldn't have, or you make claims that you shouldn't have, and that can come back to bite you and be very expensive. It can even lead to legal issues, depending on what you said in an email. And of course, you might say something to someone else about someone else, and then it ends up getting back to that person, and that could have personal ramifications for you. So we want to try to avoid negative email communications and aim for positive communications to help develop our relationships with the people who we're emailing. Now, who here has had a negative email experience? Okay, somebody want to tell me what happened in your particular case?
Reply all instead of to one person.
So what happened when you hit reply all?
Then went to the person I was talking about. To the person. I mean, it was an innocuous comment, but I didn't really want him to know
Right.
that I was even noticing something about it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, as a result of the reply all, I was reply all to and got cross and blamed the person because I probably shouldn't have.
Right. That can happen very easily if we sort of lose control of our emotions, and that's one of the things that we want to avoid when we are sending emails back and forth to people. Now, I want you to pull out handout number 1, if possible, and show. There's 2 examples of the same type of email. One's a negative email, and one's a positive one. So if you want to read the first one, where it says, Eric, where is the report on the Shumway project? If you don't get it to me by 1 p.m. today, we're going to miss our deadline. I told you last week about the deadline. Let me know when to expect it as soon as you read this email. Eric. So tell me, what is the problem with this email? Anybody?
Accusatory.
Pardon me?
It's accusatory.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, he's making all sorts of negative assumptions.
Yes, there's a lot of negative statements in this email. And the person who receives it would get an automatic negative reaction to being presented with this type of email communication. Now, if you take a look at the positive email example, for one, it starts off with this subject line. That's one thing we always want to have in our emails, a clear subject line. It says, "Hello, Eric. Please let me know the status of the Shumway project. As per last Monday's conversation, I will need the report by 1 p.m. today. This will enable us to deliver the report on schedule. Thanks for your assistance." So why is this one positive?
Starts with please.
Yes. It also starts with hello. You're actually starting a conversation with someone. Just like when you walk up to someone in person, you would actually say, "Hi." You wouldn't just start talking at them and saying, "This is what I want." So,
And instead of saying, "I told you," it says, "as per last Monday's conversation," or "as we discussed," or whatever.
correct. It's written in a polite and positive manner, and it sets the stage for developing positive communications with your reader. So that is the goal of what we want with every email, if possible. Set up and develop positive relationships and communications with the person who's receiving and reading your emails. So let's talk about organizing our emails. Many times when we receive emails, I'm sure, we receive solid blocks of text with no breaks, no greeting, no intro, no sign-off, and it's rather terse and unfriendly. So what we want to do when we're writing an email is use two very important tools, white space and paragraphs. Separate your emails into blocks of paragraphs as opposed to one just big block of text. Nobody wants to read a wall of words. So white space and paragraphs are your friend. Now, when we talk about setting up paragraphs, try to aim for 3 to 5 lines each. You can go up to maybe 7, but if you're getting up to 10 lines per paragraph, it might be time to separate it into a second paragraph. As we all know, we try to aim for one main point per paragraph. So if you have to elaborate on your point, just say something as I would like to describe, or for example, you just find ways to move into a second paragraph so you can break up your email into separate points. We can also use a lot of design features and tools to help make our emails more readable. For example, using headings. Break up your emails with headings so people know what this section is going to be talking about. And it also stands out and it's easier to read. We also use things like bullets, numbers, anything where you can break up your emails into shorter, readable points. That's what we're trying to aim for, is use your design tools to make your emails more readable. And if you have trouble doing that in your email program, write it in Word first, set it up in a way that is readable for you, and then copy and paste it into your email document. Give it a quick read to make sure you didn't leave out a word or make a mistake or cause any other issues to happen when you're doing the copy and paste. Organization is also very key to writing a great email, just as any type of writing. We want to make sure that when you're laying out your email, it makes sense as you're going from intro to paragraph, conclusion. Lay it out so it flows in a manner that makes sense to the reader and to yourself. We don't want to, again, just put a whole block of text in there where they have to hunt for what you're trying to get to, or send a big block of text at them. Some people would also suggest, and I don't use this, but it's been suggested, you can use a table of contents prior to your email. If it's a very long email, to lay out the points that are going to appear before they get into the body of the email. And again, you can set that up in a Word document or word processor, whatever is most comfortable for you. Now, there are going to be times where you're going to need to get answers from the person you are emailing. So the key here is to make your request clear. Now, if you take a look at handout number 2, you'll see 2 different emails which cover the same information. There's a poorly written one, which again is just one block of text with questions mixed in. If you look at the properly written email, you see it has a subject line, says, hello Karen, thank you, right off the top, and then your numbered and bulleted points. So all your questions are very easy to read, and you also wrap up with a thank you and a signature line and a way for them to contact you. So you can see the difference between the two different emails. Most people would get the first one, where it's just one block of text with all their questions. And one of the problems with that is they may miss a question, they may not answer something, and you'll have to go back and forth a couple more times to get all the answers that you need. So can everyone see the difference between the two emails and why the second one is more effective at getting your point across? Great. Smartphones. We all use, well, I don't use a smartphone, but a lot of people use smartphones to answer and read their emails. And depending on the type of job that you're in, some people are out in the field, they need to be on their smartphones, they need to respond to it. But I think for most of us who work at a desk, who work on laptops, I would avoid answering emails or sending emails to clients, particularly via smartphones, because a number of different problems can occur. For one, you can easily make spelling and grammar mistakes. You'll tend to be rushed and more casual in your writing style than is possibly appropriate for the person who is reading. If you're writing to a client, unless you have a casual relationship, you don't want to write in a casual tone. You also might not be able to organize your responses as well as you would like. Because again, trying to type things on a smartphone. Some people are better at it than others, but there's a lot of things you can't do on a smartphone that you can take with the time, write properly in a laptop or on a desktop computer. So as editors, we often have to deal with authors, with people that we have to review. And email etiquette is very important with maintaining a proper relationship with these types of people, and with people in positions above you and positions below you. And one thing we need to remember is when we write emails, it's not just what you say, but how you say it. Again, I have to reiterate, for certain positions, emails qualify as legal correspondence. It can come back and haunt you, and even though we don't think about it all the time, we think we can just write whatever we want and it won't hurt us, but it can become an issue. So when we write email, before you send it out, think about the following questions. How is the recipient likely to interpret the email and its contents? Think about it from their point of view, not how you would read it, but how they would read it. What are the implications of someone other than the addressee seeing it? We've talked about sending emails out, reply all, and ending up in the wrong person's inbox. We don't know where that email is going to end up, even though we sent it to a person. So that is something we have to consider. And are you committing yourself or your organization to some action? Again, this is more of an issue for people who work in-house or who deal with corporate clients, but it is an important thing to think about before you send an email out. Just take a quick drink of water. So basic rules. There are some basic rules, of course, that we should follow with writing any email. As we saw in some of the examples, begin your email with a greeting and the person's name spelled correctly. This is something, as editors, we should definitely do all the time, but everyone should do. I've received emails from clients who called me something else, so they were either meaning to send it to someone else, or they actually meant to send it to me, but they called me by a different name. Now, people can have different reactions. Some people might just laugh it off. Some people might get greatly offended. I'm sure it's happened that you've received an email or sent an email that you named incorrectly, and it can have ramifications from both ends. You can actually lose business by doing that. It can be that serious. And again, with the greetings are important. Just like when you wouldn't walk up to someone or talk to someone on the phone without saying hello, hi, how are you? You should do the same in your email. You are engaging in a two-way communication, even though it is delayed. And again, end every email with a thank you or some other sign-off. It's just polite. Again, when you talk to someone in person, you would say thank you, have a nice day. And one easy way to do that is, I want to ask, who here uses signatures in their emails? Fantastic. For those of you who don't, or even for those of you who do, right above your name, you can include thank you as part of your signature. So that way you never forget to say thank you in your emails. It's just an easy way to always be polite. Make sure that the subject line accurately states the subject of the email. Don't say this thing or that project or something generic, or leave it blank. Never leave your subject line blank. People will end up throwing it in the trash. And people don't have a lot of time. You want them to know what the email is going to be about before they read it, so they know it's important to them. If it is something that you want them to be aware of and you want them to read it, then put in a clear subject line, no more than 8 to 10 words. I mean, you don't have to write a sentence or a story, but just make sure that they know what they're going to read before they open that email. Try to keep your emails relatively short. There are times when you might have to go over a page, but people don't have a lot of time to read long-winded emails. Try to get to the point as quickly as you can. Provide the details required so that they have the information they need to answer questions or get you the information that you need. Again, structure your paragraphs, use numbering, use bullets, however you can. Organize it so that it makes sense to you and it's easy for the reader to read your email. It is very important to be specific about the information you want your reader to provide back to you, and be specific about the answers that you want from them. So that way you're not sending multiple emails back and forth because they're trying to clarify what you wanted. Make sure that your questions, when you do have them, are worded so that they're easy to answer and they provide you with the information that you need. Keep them clear and concise, and keep them relatively short if possible. Some people use read receipts. I don't know if people still use them. I would say don't use those. They just clog up inboxes. They really aren't necessary. Tone and professional image is, again, very important. Be cheerful, be pleasant, be polite. There are times when you need to criticize or say something negative. Try to mix it in with some positive messages wherever possible. Don't start off with negative and just make it negative all the way through. There are times when if you do have to criticize or say something negative, that might be the time to pick up the phone if it's going to be perceived more negatively than you intended it. Write in a style appropriate for the relationship you have with the recipient. If you have a professional relationship, keep the emails professional. If you have a casual relationship, you can write in a casual way that you would as if you were talking to them on the phone. At the same time, avoid profanity and off-color jokes. Again, you don't know who's going to read that email. You might be sending them something that would make the two of you laugh, but if their boss or your boss read it, then you get either of you in trouble. Avoid text speak, all caps. I know people have gotten used to writing that way, the short forms, because again, it is a habit people have developed, texting on their cell phones or smartphones. Don't write in text speak at all, if at all possible. Okay, so when writing emails to your clients, I want to reiterate again, this is going to refer to handout number 3. Emails are legally admissible documents, so be careful of what you say. Handout number 3 has a list of words that could imply responsibility in client communications. It doesn't mean you can never use these words. It doesn't mean that this is a comprehensive list. This is just some of the words. And if you see, there's some example sentences that use these words. And I'll just read off a couple. We can handle any possible issues with your software. Why is any a problem here? Anybody?
Absolutely.
Correct. You're basically saying you can handle anything that comes along, and what happens if something does come up, you've just obligated yourself to handling this situation. Allow me to assure you that there are no problems with this product. Why is assure a problem? Again, you are making a guarantee, and you may not be qualified or allowed to make that sort of guarantee. And again, email is a legally admissible document. Same with the next sentence. We guarantee that your project will be delivered on time. Well, what happens if it's not delivered on time? What's the guarantee? Are you going to refund their money? Are you going to give them something else that they may or may not expect. And even a word such as suitable. Our software package is suitable for all types of businesses. Why is suitable a problem in this instance? Again, you're saying that it'll work in every situation. And what happens if it doesn't?
So it's just not possible, really, to be suitable for all.
No.
businesses.
Again, that's why you have to be careful with the words that you use. I mean, this is not a situation for everybody. This won't apply if you're dealing with an author, but it can be an issue when you're dealing with corporate clients or if you're working in-house. Unfortunately, it's a very litigious society, and your words can come back and haunt you. And I guess with respect to what we said about forwarding it or doing a reply all, especially when you're upset, never write back to a client when you're upset. You're going to say something that you shouldn't, and then once it's out there, you cannot take it back. And we don't want to lose our clients or get them upset at us. So if you are upset prior to writing an email, take a little time away from your computer, blow off a little steam, then go back, and before you hit send, make sure you give it a quick read to make sure you haven't allowed some of that anger to seep back in. I don't usually suggest printing up emails to read it because it is a waste of paper, but in some cases, if it's a very important email that it's an important project, it's an important client, you may want to print it out or let someone else read it who's not attached to the project or doesn't have a stake in the email, can tell you what they see in this email if there's a problem with, oh, you're committing yourself or you said something that you shouldn't have said in this situation. Again, be aware of your tone of voice. Be confident, be welcoming to feedback. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, so watch what you're saying again and how you say it. And of course, again, be cheerful, be polite. Any chance you have to say please, thank you, or say anything else positive, take that opportunity. If you turn to handout number 4, these are, again, top words to use in email. These are words that you should try to use. You can't really go wrong with using them. Thank you, really good word, excellent. Anyone else have some? Take a look at this list quickly, and if you have any suggestions, throw some words at me that you could use that we haven't mentioned. Successful is a good word. How would you use that? I'm going to put you on the spot. How would you use that in a sentence to define?
Thank you very much for this document, which I think will be successful and
There, you use thank you. See, anytime thank you is successful. 2 positive words. Very good choices there. Anyone else?
opportunity.
Okay, so how would you use opportunity in a sentence?
Thank you for this opportunity to collaborate on this project.
You used a number of positive words right there in that sentence, and you can see how that somebody would respond positively to that type of sentence. And every chance you get to use a positive word is building upon a positive relationship. Every time you send more positive out, it just creates more strength and strengthens, the relationship between you and your email recipient. Now, we talked about the reply to all. There are times when you have to send emails to multiple recipients. Before you copy someone in an email, think about whether they need to be copied on that email. Just because they were in the original email, you may not have to send it to everybody who is receiving the original email if you're doing a reply to, because that person might have copied it, but the person in the original email. But if they don't need, or if they're not involved in the information that you are providing back, then you don't have to copy them back. Now, email, a lot of people misuse the to and the CC field. The to field should only be for people you expect to take action on the email, the person who has to respond. The CC field is for people who need to be kept informed, need to know what's going on. They're not going to participate or respond to what you are saying. They just need to be kept in the loop. Avoid using BCC fields because it can trigger spam filters, and some people don't like to know that you sent an email to someone that they don't know who's getting it. So it's just, it is a thing to, I mean, it's there and I know it's been used, but try to avoid using
How
it.
would they know? If it's BCC, how would they know it was even used?
Apparently some people can find out when another person is in, like, I always thought that it was sort of a hidden thing, but apparently nothing is really hidden. People can find out.
If you're sending out an email to multiple, hang on a second.
If you want to send it to a lot of people, you can create a group email where you put their name in a group, and then that way you don't have to type out all their names. But keep them in
I
CC.
know who they are.
Yeah, I personally don't like to get an email where I see everybody
Yeah.
else's email address. I think that's an invasion of their privacy, for one thing, and I don't appreciate.
But if they are CC'd in the email, well, that's common practice, and everybody knows who's involved.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
when people send to themselves and then BCC the whole group, that's how we get around that.
Right.
So I have an example. So I was coordinating volunteers for Word on the Street this weekend. I don't know what people's preferences are for their email to be out there. So I sent an email where everyone was BCC, apart from my vice chair who I CC'd on it. But how would you recommend going around that?
I don't know about every email program, but I've used a group where I create a group where it only shows the group email address. It'll show one address. It doesn't show all the people in your group. So I create a group, I'm sending to 100 people. I don't want to type out everybody's email. I'm going to be sending to this group on a regular basis, just like when you have like you sign for a newsletter. You don't see everybody who's getting that newsletter. You'll just see your email address, and it's in a group email setup. So that's how I've done when I had to do that method.
That's good.
Make sure you check all the addresses before you hit send. We don't want the email going to the wrong person or bouncing back. I know that I've had emails sent to me, they typed in my address when they meant to type in someone else's just because they say my name is David, they'll say David G, and that person was also David G, but it was the wrong person. I ended up getting someone's email which I shouldn't have, and I told my clients that you sent it to me, it should have gone to someone else. But some people won't tell that person that you sent it to the wrong person. They'll just let it end up in their trash. So the person who's supposed to get it never got it, and will never know that they were supposed to get an email. The person who sent it thought, I sent it out there. Why did this person not respond or just forgot about it? And that email ended up in the wrong person's hands. Again, we want to avoid that where possible. And so there are times when, if you're sending, again, to multiple email addresses, if you have 3 or 4 people in the to field, address those people by name. You don't have to address all the people in the CC field. If you have more than 5 or 6, then just refer to them as the group, so to the collections department or to the people on the committee or whatever the case may be. You don't have to refer to every person by name. So there are times when you'll have to write to people at different positions, people above you, people below you, and people on your team. So what happens when you're writing to superiors? Make sure that you respect the hierarchy that's in place. If they prefer that you send an email to the gatekeeper, to admin person, as opposed to directly to them, then make sure you follow those protocols. Refer to them by the appropriate titles as well. These protocols are set up for a reason, and you've developed this sort of relationship where they are your boss or they are a client and they prefer to communicate in this way. Respect that setup, and that will help to maintain a positive relationship. Don't worry too much about asking too many questions of superiors, but try to keep all your questions in one email as opposed to sending them 3 or 4 different emails. Save that email till the end of the day or the end of the week to make sure that you've covered all the information, because some questions may come up. Oh, I forgot to ask this. I'll just save the email before you send it out, so that way you're not inundating them with multiple emails. But they are busy people, of course. We are all busy people, but superiors like to be treated in a certain way, in certain companies and certain client relationships. When you're dealing with subordinates, make sure that you explain what you want in your email clearly and thoroughly. They may be, say, new in an organization, or they may not understand the rules, so make sure that you sort of detail what you expect from them. If they need access to links or steps or references, make sure you provide that to them, and if it's on a website or FAQs, however it is, get them all set up prior to engaging them in multiple emails and overwhelming them with too much information. Try setting them up, sending smaller emails to them to start, to make sure, if you want them to complete a job or an assignment, send them a small one with a short email, relatively short, so that they sort of get into the swing of things before you sort of get the ball rolling and sending multiple larger emails with a lot of steps or a lot of requirements. If you find that they are sending you too many emails, they're asking you a lot of questions, how do I do this, where do I find that? That's the time to sit down and have a conversation or a phone call to explain procedures and tell them, you are required to do your job. I can't explain every little detail to you. And this is more in a corporate environment, but there are situations where this will occur. Make sure to set boundaries again, where they can come to you and send you an email to get information, but don't be sending you emails every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes and trying to get answers that they have to sort of find on their own, because these procedures are already set up for them. One way to sort of help you write emails more effectively is to set up templates, where if you find yourself writing the same emails over and over again, save a copy of that email in your email folder, or turn it into a signature. If you know how to create signature files, you can turn a whole email into a signature file. Just activate that signature and then just change the information so that it applies to the particular situation. Don't keep sending blank templates to everybody and forget to change their name or the date or names of projects, because that can happen where you get used to sending the same emails over and over again. But templates are a great way to save time and make sure that if you've written a really good email, you can use it again and not have to retype it over and over again. How many of you are on LinkedIn or other online forums? Great. The rules that you use for sending emails, you should apply to your LinkedIn and other online forums. One of the most important things is use your real name and behave professionally when you're either responding to someone or sending an email or a message on an online forum. Make sure you participate, support others, answer questions, and also at the same time avoid negative interactions. We've all been involved in flame wars, either accidentally or on purpose. We want to avoid that. Just like we would not send negative emails to people, we don't want to send negative messages in online forums. It just, all it does is hurt you in the long run and cause issues, because you're trying to develop a professional appearance. You do that with your emails, you do that when you're interacting in online forums. Make sure that you follow their particular rules so that you don't get flagged or kicked out of the forum. I mean, you think, well, I would never do something like that, but it's sometimes easy to cross the line and break rules if we're not aware of what the rules are. Show what you know, but don't show what you don't know. So if someone asks a question in a forum and you know the answer, then by all means write a nice email or message to them saying, well, this is the answer to your question. If you don't know it, don't try to fake it or pretend that you know, or point them in directions where you think you know the answer. If you don't know, just leave it to someone else to answer that question. Try to keep your balance, and that means there's so many online forums out there. We can't participate in all of them all the time, otherwise we'll never get any work done. We can easily get overwhelmed with emails, and the same can happen in online forums if we join a lot of groups, if we're on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, and there's many others that I'm not even aware of, that you could easily just get overwhelmed with all online messages and trying to participate in every form because you think you have to get your name out there, you have to be involved, you have to be online. Well, you should be online, but you don't have to be everywhere. You can't be everywhere. So just try to find a balance that works for you and participate in the forums that work best for you. Now, of course, there are times, just like when we send emails, we will have to reply to a client's email. They will want to get information from us. So when replying, important, be prompt, get back in a responsible and timely manner. Some emails need to be responded to more urgently than others. You can judge by the tone of the email and what is included. Don't leave it for 3 or 4 days in your inbox if they wanted an answer by the end of the day. Be courteous. Again, it's all about being polite. You may not think that the information is that important. They may have asked you something silly in your mind or not very relevant, but it's relevant to them because they took the time to send you that email. Again, don't respond if you are angry or upset or frustrated with the client because they've asked you a bunch of emails repeatedly. Just respond in a polite manner. If you find that you are rushed and you can't give them a clear response at that time, just say, I'll send them a short email and say, I will get back to you by the end of the day or by tomorrow morning so that you can respond in a more calm and positive manner. And there are times, again, when you should call them or ask to speak to them in person if this is not an appropriate way to respond to their request. It may be something that's sensitive, or you may have to give them a negative answer, or you cannot do something that will just upset them if you send it by email. That's the time to pick up the phone and say, we need to have a quick discussion. Be thorough. If they've asked you 5 questions, make sure you give answers to all 5 questions. And read the email carefully, because sometimes they will bury a question in there somewhere that you didn't think was a question. It was just written as more of a statement. But when you read it, you go, oh, they wanted to know something. Make sure you read that carefully and get back all the information that they wanted. Now, there are times when we're going to be dealing with multiple emails and there'll be quoted material. At some point, you don't want to just keep hitting reply, they hit reply, then they hit reply, and you hit reply, and you'll have an email that's 10 pages long. Try to keep it to the past 3 or 4 emails. If you have to refer to something from a previous email, copy and paste it, say, here's the answer to this question, you'll copy the question, and your answer will be right below it. You could just say, please see below. You'll point them to the question or the statement. If they wrote their question in a numbered format, then you should respond in a numbered format as well. And again, be considerate. Don't dismiss other people's concerns. They wanted to ask you a question for a reason, so just respond as politely as possible. Now, there are times when you're going to have to say something negative. You may have to turn someone down. You may have to say something that this is not possible or this is done incorrectly. Again, this is more of a corporate thing, but be aware that emails are legally admissible documents, so be careful how you word something. Try to avoid giving very bad news by email. If it's something that is very delicate or very serious, pick up the phone and call them, and you can follow up with an email with what you stated in the phone call. If you do have to criticize or say something negative, again, balance it with something positive at the same time where possible. Choose your words carefully. And again, every email should give you the opportunity to be positive. Please, thank you. Anytime you have a chance to say something positive about the person, you heard that they got a promotion, mention it in the email. You heard some good news. You come across an article that you think they would be interested in. Send it to them in an email. Say, hey, I read this and thought of you. I thought it would be something that you would really like to read. Anytime you have a chance to compliment someone, if you work with someone in an office, say, hey, I saw that work you did. That was fantastic. Again, every opportunity you have to say something positive, to build a positive relationship, email is a great way of doing that. And just share good news, give good news, and try to develop positive relationships with your clients, with your authors, with your customers, with your bosses, with your subordinates, anyone that you can. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I have one. So you're talking about having maybe a table of contents for a long email. At what stage is something too long to be an email? What stage should it maybe be a document that you would attach?
We try, you would normally send an attachment if it's something that they need to sign or respond to. For example, you would send a contract or send a manuscript that they have to read. If you think it's too long to send in the body of an email, then make sure that you write in the email, I'm going to be sending you this document, it's going to cover these following points. A lot of people, if they're not expecting an attachment, it'll end up in their spam folder or they won't even read it. So if you've developed a relationship where they're comfortable with getting emails from you and you think that it'll be better use of your time to send it as an attachment, then do that. I mean, you'll sort of have to judge by the situation where this is going to be a 5-page email. I'd rather send it to you as an attachment. And that, again, that's a judgment call, but I would say write your email so that it sort of summarizes what is being said to the best of your ability in that attachment page. Again, we usually use attachments when it's a document that they have to do something with. Either it's a contract, like I said, or it's a file that they have to work on or share with their department, or something that something is going to happen to that document. It's not where they need to get answers or you need to get answers from them. So again, it's sort of a judgment thing. But yeah, and if it's going to be a 10-page email, then yes, send that as an attachment, but preface it with an email that explains, I'm going to send you this document, maybe in the next email, just so you know, don't throw away this attachment. There's some very important information for you to respond to here.
Yeah, you're talking about not CCing too many people, but the reverse can also be the case. Some people don't know how to hit the reply all button and keep everyone in the loop, so you get an email from someone that it may itself even have a history in it that you know other people should be seeing and participating in the discussion, so you want to when you reply, add them, but then you're technically breaching copyright from the person who just sent it to you, and it's an awkward situation.
It can be an awkward situation. If you want people to reply all, you can state in your email, please hit reply all when you're responding to this email so everybody is kept in the loop.
Yeah, but if you get one that you feel you have to include more people in your reply, that's more of an issue.
That is going to be a judgment call. It'll depend on the situation. There are times where you received an email, but you have to reply and someone else has to be involved in that email. The person who sent it didn't know that. You could easily copy and paste that and send that as a separate email to the person who needs to read it, but not in the one that goes back to everyone else. You could just hit reply all to those people and then send that email as a forward. You can forward it to the person who needs to be involved or needs to know what's going on, so that everyone else is not sort of added to the person that you're sending it to.
Or if I'm CCing extra people, I'll sometimes say I'm copying these people because there's this and this.
There you go. You're explaining what you are doing. And you want people, again, to be comfortable with what you're doing and understand why are these people being involved in the email. That is another great way of doing it.
Because copying people can also be a hostile act. Like if someone copies your boss on the reply here,
Instant escalation.
Yeah.
I've experienced that where it's like all of a sudden the steering committee is being CC'd and you're thinking, why? That's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yes, there are, I guess, politics involved in some emails, and I guess you will know why, whether someone should be involved or not. And if you can't control what other people are going to do with your emails or who they are going to include, you can only control what you're going to do. And if you follow, I guess, proper email etiquette, hopefully other people will learn to follow your example. That's why saying things like please and thank you. You hope that rubs off on other people, so they say please and thank you to you as well. But again, we can't control what other people are going to do with the email. You can only send the email follow the proper email rules yourself, and hopefully others will do the same. We know that people will do what they're going to do anyway. All you can do is do the right thing yourself.
With the sort of the etiquette rules for email, if you've been CC'd on something, are you obligated to reply?
If it's done properly, I mean, if you are CC'd, you are not, I mean, if you're put in the proper, I guess, level, then you're just getting that for information purposes. You are not supposed to be involved, but you might have been put the CC incorrectly. So if you, again, want to respond and say, oh, I have something to add, or I have the answer to that question, you should hit reply all. It's almost better to hit just reply to that person, and because you are not meant to be brought into the email if they fall. Like, you are not a to, you are a CC, so you're only supposed to have it for information purposes. Then just reply to that person and say, oh, I have this information which may be of use to you. And that way you're not involving the whole group. And then they can decide, because they sent the email, they can decide to share that with the group. And that'll be, again, that's their decision to make.
I'd add, like, with one of my regular clients, I'm often copied on emails because I write and edit stuff, and normally it's a script question, but I try not to reply directly to clients. I try to, just reply to our account director so that it's her call whether to pass that information on or not, because it's not.
Right, so you have a structure where you deal with people at a certain level. You're not dealing with, I guess, this person, you're dealing with that person. So you respond to them and let them sort of make the decision from there. And that's how it's set up, that you're following protocols, right? You set up a protocol for how people should be dealt with via email, and you're doing what you're thinking is best. And let someone else make that next decision at their pay grade or structure.
Other than, for the signature, other than thank you, your name, I don't know, I use different things. I sometimes echo back whatever, like they put best regards or warm regards, or what do you think, other than thank you, what would you say would be like the best standard signature?
I mean, above your name?
Yeah.
So say have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Time, yeah.
your time. You say more than just thank you. Thank you for what? What are you thanking them for?
Sometimes the body of the email already has one or two thank yous, so I don't want to be overly like, thank you.
Yeah.
You don't want to be, it seems insincere or overly.
You could say, it was great speaking with you. It was great. It's something just that makes sense for you.
It always depends on the context.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. You can never go wrong with thank you.
Yeah.
I know people who say thank you when they have thank you already built into their signature. They say thank you twice. Don't say the first thank you. The thank you's already there. So, or she'll say her name, but then she'll write her signature will be there. So you said your name twice, but it's one of those things that people just forget that they have it in their signature. But if you get into the habit of doing it, you'll know the thank you's there. You don't have to write it twice, or just like that's why the signature saves you time. Typing your name, typing your email address, typing your phone number. It's all there, and you can type little. You can actually have little quotes at the bottom of your signature and change those if you like. It's something motivational or positive as well. Again, a little subliminal messaging doesn't hurt there.
So we're talking about the sign off. What other than like for the greeting, like other than hi or hello, is there something? I mean, people don't really.
And comma or not comma? Hello, name or hello? So-and-so.
I have one client who always puts a period, and I find it hostile. Hi, I just do. Like, hi, Sarah, period.
Hi,
Stop.
Just remember, not everybody is an editor and won't make that interpretation that the period is hostile.
What about comma?
I'm going to look differently, period.
Think about how you would write a letter. If you're writing, most people would write dear, and say Frank, comma, and then they go into their body. Or it's what works best for you and what you're comfortable with. And again, you say dear instead of hi. It depends on the relationship.
I would feel weird writing dear or anything in an email.
Well,
a letter seems okay, but it's
Very intimate.
Too formal. It just feels intimate now.
Yeah.
It feels wrong.
Right.
It feels like I'm talking to my mom or something.
That's part of the issue there. People don't treat emails like professional letters or personal letters, and yet that's what they are. You're writing a letter to someone. You are engaging in correspondence. It's not on a page, it's on the screen, but you're still doing the same thing. So treat it the same way. If you're writing a professional letter to someone in an email, you write it professionally as well. If you're talking to a friend or a colleague who you're comfortable with, you can write here if that's how you would speak to them normally, if you would write a letter to them in that way. So don't feel, I guess, badly or sensitive that you're saying something inappropriate if that's the relationship that you have with the person.
What would you write to, let's say you're writing to the president of the company that you want to work for or something?
Dear.
I said, dear
Dear
Mr.
Mr.
Yeah, so if you're writing, yeah, you say, dear Mr. So-and-so, last name spelled properly.
Dear is a formal
Yes.
request.
And
There's a
for
high.
that, I'd sign off sincerely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even, again, you can say thank you.
Yeah.
You can say thank you. Thank you doesn't hurt, but
Or,
sincerely.
you know, thank you for
and
your
then
time and consideration,
Yes,
sincerely.
exactly, yes.
Put it
So,
all in there, dear, thank you.
throw them all in there and say, thank you for reading this email. Thank you for responding to this email.
Thank you for not
taking the time. Thank you for not throwing this in the trash. So yeah, consider the relationship that you have and use what feels appropriate.
I noticed you didn't say a word about emoticons.
Do you read those?
I don't hate them, I would just not use them. I know some people who say that you can use them in an email. I think if you're talking with a friend, by all means go ahead, don't use it to the president of a company. Unless you have that relationship with them, but I would just avoid anything that comes off as non-professional. If you're just talking with someone in your office and you want to throw in an emoticon, by all means go ahead and do it. But I would not personally use it myself. I don't use them.
Yeah.
No.
Again, you treat your emails like professional correspondence, even when it's friendly correspondence. Just treat it professionally. You can be joking in a positive way in an email and friendly in a positive way. You don't have to be silly or disrespectful or anything, or nonsensical in an email. Leave that for your texting with your friends, I guess.
Thank you again for saying you need an informative subject line. That drives me crazy. There's nothing worse than getting an email that says, hi, question. What do you want?
Yeah, subject lines are very important. It's just like when you're writing an article, you read the title first. Yeah. Subject line is your title. What's it all about?
I think too, the point we're making about, like I think with an email, like when I get emails and I open them up and it's just all text with no white space in it, I know I close them.
Yeah.
I close them and I put them in the look at later file, you know, unless it's from someone who's going to pay me. And, you know, so I think it's interesting too that you're saying like 3 to 5 lines. I mean, that's like website too. It's sort of similar. It's all very visual, right? And
Yes.
you need to see that space.
Paragraphs help you to create white space and make your documents, any document, easier to read, including your emails. So use those. We all have writing tools at our disposal, just we have to apply them to our emails. White space, bullets, paragraphs, headings, all. Don't go overboard with colors and fonts and never use Comic Sans in anything. You know.
I even try, back to subject lines, I even try, if there is like a simple question that is really short, I try and put it just in the subject line, you know.
Oh, even the EOM. Yeah.
And that's another matter. If
Not
you're-
even, well, I
do
tried that.
Yeah.
But, you know, if your question is, are you available to do work for me on these 2 days, just put it in the subject line. It's-
I would probably update the subject line with answer to your, somebody say answer to your question, where don't keep the same. If you're sending back and forth a few emails, update your subject line if the subject of your email changes. Or say report document, for example, says answer to your report document included or whatnot. Just update. There was a question over here.
I was just going to mention that sometimes I use color for those people who like run all their questions together. I say semi-response below in blue.
Yeah.
And that makes sure that I hit them all.
Yes, that is a great way of doing it. Using color to make sure your answers stand out so they can see them.
I have a comment about color, because like I used to always mix the answers when people like reach out to me and say like, see the color my answers in blue. Because like some people might not use the program that allows colors to be seen, so the using color alone is actually like I would recommend it.
Yeah.
Or even all caps, because bold and underline can be stripped out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if someone's on a really basic text program, then.
That's very true. Yeah.
Underline survives sometimes in bold italic won't.
Very true. Anyone else? No? All right. Thank you very much.